Titan Technologies president Paul Nebb joins this week for a packed show. There's news from Eaton, Datto, and more to break down, plus special guest interviews with Laurie Mitchell from Wasabi Technologies and SkyAMP president Jason Howell. It's Channel Pro Weekly number 223, The Everlasting Sea. Hello and welcome to Channel Pro Weekly episode 223. My name is Matt Whitlock, technology editor, online director, and your host of this fine show for people like you, the VARs, the IT integrators, the managed services providers, the managed security services specialists. That's an acronym. I know that works, but basically, if you do technology stuff with other businesses, you are in the right place. If you don't do that, well, you might learn something and want to change careers. Who knows? There's a lot of folks in the IT channel. We could always use it a little bit more. Joining me in each and every week is the man of the hour here at Channel Pro, the guy who keeps everything running smoothly, executive editor Rich Freeman. Welcome, Rich.
Greetings, everybody.
Good to have you home. Good to have you on again. It looks like you're still at home, but you'll probably be leaving soon.
Well, I just got back from home. Actually, this is the first day since the weekend that I've been home. We'll talk a little bit about the Eaton partner event that I just attended, but I don't know for folks who are watching on video if they can tell or not. But I could tell this morning. I'm just back late last night from Florida, and I a little bit, just ever so small, a bit of a tan I brought back with me.
You do look a little tan. I didn't know if it was the lighting or what, but yeah, it looks like you did pick up a little bit of sun while you were gallivanting in the Florida area. Did you go and you hang out by the pool while you were there, or did it just kind of happen as you were moving around?
So this was classic Rich Freeman style sunbathing, right? Like workaholic sunbathing. So the event, the second day of the event, wrapped up at around 5 p.m. on Tuesday this week. And I had like a couple of different articles that I needed to write, but I had a west-facing room in the hotel and a little patio, and so I just took my laptop out onto the patio and did my writing out there. So that's where I soaked up the sun.
Nice. Well, look, you wear it well, I should say. I'm going to give you a run for your money by the end of the summer, though, because we're rolling into baseball and softball season for the kids. So I'm going to be outdoors a lot, and I turn like super orange by the time that you go back and watch episodes from like August of last year, or maybe not quite that late, July. I always look crazy. But good stuff. Good to have you back. I know you're gonna be going back on the road again pretty soon. For what?
I am going to be heading out your way, Matt. I'm going to Chicago next week because we are doing the second of our 6 2022 SMB Forum events, and this one is it's in Chicago, or that's what we like to say. Technically, it's in Schaumburg, Illinois, just outside Chicago. And we are going to be talking about cybersecurity. We're going to be talking about managed services strategy and navigating the M&A landscape. We have got a very fun session all about employee recruitment and retention, which is a giant headache for everybody right now. And so we've created something that's modeled after the dating game to inject a little fun into that. But you will learn from some very experienced peers of yours how to handle an interview and get that employee that you very much want to hire and keep them on staff. Our buddy Colleen Fry, the managing editor here, does a session on going to market with Microsoft Azure-based solutions, which is something a lot of people are thinking about right now. So I think we did a really good job this year of covering the top-of-mind issues for channel pros, and we've got great speakers and great formats and great approaches to covering that stuff. So events.channelpronetwork.com to sign up for that event or any of our other events, because we've got another 4 coming up. We're going to be in Dallas at the beginning of June. We're going to be in Charlotte, and then the Washington, D.C. area, and then Southern California, between now and the end of the year. And you can get information and dates and locations and register for any and all of those events at events.channelpronetwork.com.
Absolutely. So and for the Chicago event specifically, if you are anywhere in the Chicago land area, Wisconsin, Iowa, whatever, anywhere nearby, make it a point to be in Chicago for the event next week. It is going to be well worth it. And I'm going to give you if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the bell, hit subscribe, all that stuff. But we're going to put a graphic up on the screen. It's got a QR code. If you're listening, go to channelproforum.com/Chicago. That'll take you right to the registration for the Chicago event. Use promo code CPVIP. That will get you in the door for free. But I tell you, you will get in the door for free, but you are going to leave with a lot of value. It is a great event. Make it a priority to be there. You will not regret it. I promise that. Rich, we got an amazing show lined up today. Holy moly, it's probably going to run a little longer than normal because we got not only one, but 2 guest interviews this week that we were just really excited to get to. And we also have an awesome guest host joining us today. He founded Titan Technologies in 2008, works with a range of companies from large national ones to small firms. He is a cybersecurity expert and spent countless hours speaking about the awareness of dangers of the dark web, making appearances all over the United States. Please welcome the IT first responder himself, Paul Nebb. Welcome, Paul.
Hey, Matt. Thanks for having me on the show. Great to be here.
It is great to have you on. I read the article about you on Channel Pro when it came out, and I'm really excited that you're kind of here to join us and to talk with us. So, first of all, tell us a little bit about you and about Titan Technologies.
Yeah, so I've, as you mentioned, I had been my MSP for the last 14 years, from 2008. We're in Freehold, New Jersey, kind of right in between New York and Philadelphia.
And how did you get the kind of the name, the IT first responder? Tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, sure. So when I was 16 years old, and in my community, the ambulance service is run by volunteers. So since 16, I've been certified as a volunteer EMT in my community. I've been on all kinds of calls. And during COVID, this past 2 years, still at it, helping people in the community who are sick. But at the same time, working in my MSP, helping our clients, existing clients, new clients, pivot to what they had to do to keep their businesses running through these challenging times.
It has been. So tell us a little bit more about Titan and how you kind of started that and how it's grown and how big it is today.
Yeah, sure. So today I have 5 technicians and two folks in our admin area. And we have clients from all over the state. We have some clients with locations in surrounding states. Before COVID, I kind of had this thing, where you draw a coffee cup, circle around your neighborhood, and say, "This is my home." But I think, like most MSPs, and right now, we're taking that. We're gonna get a bigger coffee cup and circle the state, circle the region as we continue to grow.
Yeah,
there's more people get the word out.
Yeah, you do a lot of speaking. You've been speaking specifically on dark web security. How did you kind of fall into being in that kind of speaking role and being like a thought leader in that space?
Yeah, so I've had the great opportunity to speak at NASDAQ, New York City Bar Association, West Point Military Academy, and the message that I want to deliver is, one of the awareness of cybercrime. Cybercrime is the biggest threat to businesses today, biggest threat to individuals today, bigger than even physical terrorism. Real terrorism is cyber terrorism. And that coming up in 2 weeks, I'm going to be in a documentary, Cybercrime, the Dark Web Uncovered. So we're going to have our LA premiere May 18th. And then we'll be sure to let you know how other MSPs and those in the channel can watch for themselves.
That's cool. Now, how'd you get roped into that? That's neat.
So being in the Channel Pro community, being in the involved in ASCII and the Robin Robbins, now known as the TMT community, right? That had that little rebrand recently. I've met some great peers, interacted with some great vendors, and some great opportunities have come my way as a result.
That's awesome. So was working on a big documentary different than what you expected, or what can you tell us about how that all panned out?
Also, first I thought, speaking was a big deal. Then, going on TV, being on a whole bunch of TV news, talk shows, radio shows. Now I'm like, oh, the movies, wow. Right? So So a group of us, 11 MSPs, were invited to be in this documentary on cybercrime and specifically the dark web. Where your information goes, how does it get there, and can you get it out once it's in? And it was actually interesting filming it, of course, because we started filming and then COVID happened, so we kind of had a little break, and then we picked back up full steam just the other week to wrap up production. And when I think back to before COVID and some of the things that we were talking about as far as predicting future things that would happen in cybersecurity, Colonial Pipeline, and even other events, JBS meets, events like that with supply chain attacks. Now, we were talking about that 2 years ago, as far as warning our customers and warning people about that, and here it comes true.
It must have been. Do you have to like reshoot anything that you shot before you all went on break because things changed, or was everything still kind of pretty relevant?
Everything was pretty relevant. We did do some new scenes for COVID related pivoting and the additional security concerns that come as a result of COVID, and the work from home environment. Before, working from home, working remotely was a luxury, usually only reserved for, snow days. And even then it was, partners in the law firm or that would be working remotely. Now the secretary logs in, right? And how do we keep her or him secure in their house? Very
cool. Very interesting. And when this comes out, where can people watch it?
The distribution is still to be determined, but we'll definitely have it. It'll be online for streaming.
Cool. Well, we'll keep an eye out. Let us know when it is, so that we can let all the listeners know and add it to the show notes when it comes out, so that people can go and check it out. So, last question about you. So you're big into cybersecurity. We were talking a little bit before the show started. You're kind of a big geek. You like tech and listen to a lot of tech stuff, but you also like to travel. Tell us a little about some of the other things you do kind of for fun.
Yeah, sure. So I am I'm a guy who enjoys his points, right? Airline points, hotel points, any kind of points. You can actually look up online. I actually wrote a book on it called The Joy of Points, how I earn and spend my frequent flyer points and hotel points. Definitely love to travel around the world, go attend different events, taste different foods. Recently have gone on a trifecta of cruise ships. Cruising is fun. Cruising is back. Enjoy the waves.
Nice.
And just new things every day, right? Always learning.
Well, that's awesome. Well, we'll save some questions for the 5-question segment that we'll hopefully get to later on in the show. But if you name one place that you've been and say the last, since you started traveling, you probably didn't travel a lot during COVID like most people, but since you've gone back out traveling, what's the most interesting place you've been to?
Oh, wow. The most interesting place. My favorite place on the map is Israel. I go every year too. I'm actually preparing to go back in 2 weeks from now, into this month. So just, you can go from desert and, 45 minutes later be in a vibrant city, a great tech hub as well.
It is. Yep. A lot of tech there.
And, just history going back thousands of years, and you wonder how it got there in present.
Very cool. Very so. Well, I hope we have a good trip there, and I'm glad you're on to join us, because holy moly, Paul, you certainly are strapping yourself in for a long one on this particular show, but he's getting the seatbelt going. But we've got a lot we want to cover. We're going to try and get to the news a little quicker than normal this week, but there's some stories that we really wanted to hit on. But we've got some news stories we're going to talk about. Laurie Mitchell from Wasabi is here. We're going to be talking about turning cloud storage from a commodity into something that was more of an opportunity. So you're not going to miss that. We also got the president of SkyAMP. We talked about that company a little bit a few episodes ago. You wanted to come on and kind of answer some questions that we had about it. And I'm glad he's going to join us as well. So that's Jason Howell will be here and a lot more. Here we go. Rich, Eaton. You were an Eaton show, and they've got a big opportunity. What's that all about?
Yeah, I mean, they do their partner conference every year. They had to cancel it 2 years ago. They did it virtually last year. So this was actually the first face-to-face since 2019. Typically, they're talking about a lot of different things at these shows. This year, they were really zeroing in on one thing, and that has to do with the fact that last year they acquired Triplight, which turns out to be a pretty significant thing for them and by extension for their partners. So as Hervé Tardy, one of their executives, said to me in an interview, we bought Triplight thinking that we were buying a UPS company, and they specialize in like gaming UPSs and endpoint UPSs and some of these specialty devices that Eaton itself didn't make. And so we're going to extend our UPS line. But turns out UPS hardware only accounts for about 30% of Triplight's revenue. The other 70% is in cables and connectors and KVM switches and all of these peripherals and accessories. That's really the thing that that's kind of their bread and butter, if you will. And that turns out to be pretty significant, obviously, for Eaton, because all of that stuff is an important part of any kind of power deal that you were doing. So if you are an Eaton partner, you are now not only going to be able to offer the UPS and the PDU and the enclosures and racks and all that other stuff that goes with a project, you're also going to be able to tack on all of these Triplight peripherals and accessories to the deal as well. And anything you can do. So first of all, according to the ex-Triplight folks, who are now Eaton folks, this is it may not be a high dollar amount, some of this peripheral stuff, but the margin is very, very high. So it's actually going to increase the profitability of your deal significantly. But it's also going to lock out competitors. You don't want the customer going someplace else to get the stuff that they're going to need. So now you can satisfy more of the customer requirement, charge more for the solution, make more profit on the solution. Interestingly, what this does for Eaton and again, by extension, its partners, is actually kind of get them into these entirely new markets. So I still, I'm kind of wrapping my brain around this, because when I think Eaton, I think power quality, power protection, and so on. But, these Triplight accessories and peripherals are very useful in, just as for example, digital signage solutions and Pro AV solutions. I mean, one of the things they're very excited about at Eaton right now is, as offices are reopening and people are preparing for the hybrid workforce and they're upgrading their meeting rooms, there's this giant kind of connectivity opportunity around Pro AV, and there's no PDU UPS component to this, but it's this whole new thing that Eaton can make money on and its partners can make money on. Plus, Triplight was not a trivially sized organization, so there's a lot of new sales and marketing resources and support resources that's going to improve Eaton's coverage in those areas around the country. And the only area of overlap between the Eaton product line, the UPS product line, and the Triplight product line is in this one kind of particular voltage zone in the single phase market. And there's a strategy that they're going to preserve the Triplight brand. I won't go into the details, but they're going to figure out a way to turn these into Eaton products that still have the Triplight brand attached to them, so that that name recognition stays with it. Over time, they're going to make these products available through the partner portal to members of their Power Advantage partner program, so that you can register this stuff and make margin from this stuff. There are some issues to think through in terms of the accessories. Registering an accessories deal is not a practical thing, and so they're kind of working some of that out. But it's definitely an interesting change of direction or expansion of direction maybe for Eaton, and kind of a big deal for their partners too.
Yeah, and you're right. Their catalog is absolutely enormous. I was kind of browsing the website and looking at what kind of things they sell, because I always associated Triplight with power as well. But I forgot. Yeah, they make they got 100 different KVMs to pick from. They've got cables. They've got It's an enormous amount of stuff. And Rich, I've been saying for a long time, and Paul, maybe you agree or disagree. If you want to make margin in hardware, accessories is one of the areas where margin still exists. So Paul, do you do a lot of hardware deals, or do you focus more on services?
No, we do hardware where we have to, or it makes sense, right? And so yes, of course, quoting a desktop, throw a UPS on there, throw the extra cable, the better cable, racks and rack accessories, always a great place for Eaton and Triple Eight.
Cool. So, are you any thoughts about Eaton taking over Triple Eight and what they're announcing?
M&A is kind of we hear about it every day. So so some of it's shocking, some of it's synergenic. I think there's some good synergy here. I think it's really gonna help.
Cool. All right. Well, it sounds neat. There's a lot more in the story to go and check out, and we encourage you folks to go do so. And where can you do that, by the way? So if you go to channelpronetwork.com, you can find this episode sheet for number 223. We'll have links in there to all of the stories that we're talking about, because we're just kind of touching on them and giving you our high level overview on them. But there's a lot more detail. Go and check them out. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the bell, hit the subscribe button. And I don't know, there's a million buttons on there. Just press them all and leave a comment. That always helps as well. But if you open up the description area there on YouTube, we put the links in there for you as well, so they're nice and easy, so you can read as you watch. And if you're on your phone, most of the time you can open up the description on your phone, and we'll put the links in there for you as well. Way as you listen, you can kind of read along and get all the gruesome details that are in here. So, Rich, next story is about Datto. They've got some new stuff that they're announcing. What do they got?
Yeah, some pretty significant product news this week. So the Cirrus BDR appliance line, it's really like the kind of flagship Datto offering. They have all sorts of different products these days, but longtime partners, are probably still especially fond of the Cirrus BDR devices. And so they have shipped Generation 5, Series 5 of the Cirrus product line this week. And they sort of summarized the upgrades or the advantages of the new line around 3 words: performance, reliability, and simplicity. So on the performance side, they're saying you're going to get 4x better performance because they've got faster processors in there now. They've upgraded the memory. They've got this is, I guess, on the reliability side, they've got a RAID protected drive in there, or drives in the devices now. They also upgraded or enhanced some of the diagnostics that they do to basically reduce false positives. So, a diagnostic test that tells you there's something wrong with the device when there isn't actually anything wrong with the device. This has been an issue for some folks in the past. It leads to people returning devices that are perfectly good. They say they're doing a much better job of eliminating those false positives. They have a more rigorous burn-in testing process. So they're saying there should be fewer problems with the devices. On the simplicity side, they have taken a product line that used to have 25 different SKUs, and they've kind of boiled that down to 13. So they're making it a little bit easier to identify which device is suited to which particular use case, and that is going to make ordering and evaluating easier as well. They at the entry level, the Cirrus 5X device, which is the sort of low end device, they've got a 1 agent minimum now, which I know a lot of folks are going to appreciate. Across the product line, they've introduced a 7-year data retention period, which aligns it with regulatory requirements like Sarbanes-Oxley. Easy for me to say. And then there's some new reporting as well. And in particular, there's what they're calling the Hero Report, which is a report that you can produce and take with you into a meeting with your customer to kind of show them all the value around BDR that you've been delivering since the last meeting, so they understand what they're paying for. And then the other thing they announced is an upgraded edition of their Cloud Continuity for PCs product, which is a direct-to-cloud backup solution for Windows endpoints, Windows PCs in particular. Bare metal restore, they're saying, is 5 times faster. They've added volume resizing, which is something that partners apparently have been asking for. They added some functionality that reduces your exposure to the restore or the backup process getting interrupted by Wi-Fi issues. So there's some more resilience around the product there. In the past, that product could really only back up the OS drive, like the C drive typically. Now going forward, the agent is going to be able to protect all of the drives on an endpoint if there is more than one. For the folks who are doing co-managed IT, you're now going to have the ability to delegate access rights, like admin rights, on a selected basis to some folks at the end user devices. So, and from a big picture standpoint, they took a few minutes in the presentation of all of this to kind of point out, for those of you out there who are concerned, now that Kaseya has announced that it will be acquiring Datto in a deal that will close in the second half of this year, is that going to interrupt them from innovating, introducing new products? They're saying no, and this is evidence of that. Their message since the acquisition was announced is business as usual, and they're saying this is proof. This is business as usual. New products coming out for our partners.
The most fascinating thing that I just got out of this story that I just realized is that in 2022, the default OS drive is still C, which is just crazy. Like, who would have guessed that 40 years ago, when we had those old DOS machines or whatever, I don't really know the history of this, and I probably should. Paul, what is the history of the C drive? Is that just because like A was floppy and B was also a floppy, right? Generally speaking. So then
C is for central.
Is C for central? Is that what it is? I just thought in the world of disks, just A was always the floppy drive and B was always the floppy, like a 5 1/4. And then maybe when hard disks became common in PCs, C was just the next letter, and that's just how it stayed. I don't know. Is that?
As they say, the fundamentals never change. There are still commands, and that's because Windows was building onto itself, on top of itself. And I think until recently, there's Windows 98 commands that you can still do on Windows 10 machines.
That's just crazy. It's just funny how some things never change, even though as rapidly as technology has evolved, there's these little things here and there in the computer world that have just always been that way, and no one knows why.
And on this story here, Datto is just one of the great vendors that drive the MSP community. And this product, specifically the cloud continuity product, is awesome. I was at DattoCon when they first released it, and I'm like, this is going to be awesome. And it is awesome, and we've used it. And believe it or not, we had was it two years ago, right before we have a lot of accountants as clients. Middle of April, one firm, both working from home, 2 laptops get water spilled on them. We were able to restore them. It took a little while because the Datto Cloud Continuity product was slower back then. But that was magic. That was great.
Axient has a direct-to-cloud product that they, another BDR vendor, they introduced that. I forget if it was 2020 or 2021, but they recently said it's their fastest growing product, and one of the, if not the fastest growing in the history of the company. So that there really is something about that direct-to-cloud kind of hardware-free model that I guess, especially in the era of hybrid work, is especially appealing to MSPs and their customers right now.
We hope that people save to the network share. We try to train them. We try to put group policy on, but somehow fundamentally, end users, give them a lot of credit. They manage to put a file somewhere that we don't expect it to, and hey, that's why we got backup.
That's why you do backup, and it's good to see that this actually does all the other drives now, because there's a lot of machines, especially in desktop workstations, where there's of course multiple drives. So it's got
gaming architects.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, anytime you use a small SSD and then you have like a big hard disk for file storage, you're going to need to back. If you're going to do a full restore, it's nice to be able to restore all that at once, as opposed to restoring the machine and then trying to restore it from something else that's backing it up later. So pretty cool. Paul, anything else to add on this?
I was also at the the Technology Marketing Toolkit Bootcamp event when Fred Ricola spoke, and at first I was a little scared about the whole Kaseya thing. I feel a lot better about it now. I think that the channel and the MSP community should as well.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, it's definitely something that's got everybody nervous and thinking and wondering what's going to happen. So we've talked about it a lot on the show, and we probably will talk about it some more on the show as all of that unfolds. So cool stuff. Well, in the interest of time, Rich, why don't we go ahead and move on to our last story, which is about Fortinet and Ingram Micro. There's a word in here I don't know if I've ever seen before. So tell us about this story. Oh, that's another company name. That's why I've never seen that word before. Masergy.
Masergy, yes, is a vendor in the security and SD-WAN space, and this is actually what we're about to talk about, the first time that they've done anything through distribution, which is kind of interesting. But what we're talking about here is a brand new managed SD-WAN solution available through Ingram Micro. It combines software and hardware from Fortinet with management services from Masergy. So you pay for the hardware and software up front. You pay for the management component of that on a monthly or recurring kind of basis. You can do that either on what they're calling a co-managed or a fully managed basis. On the co-managed basis, you're taking on the tier 1 and tier 2 kind of client support, and then you can upgrade or send it up the chain if you needed further assistance beyond that. In the fully managed model, Masergy is doing all of the management. And that's what kind of interests me in particular about this solution is, so first of all, if you are an MSP and you're not doing managed SD-WAN, this is a pretty easy way to get into that. And, SD-WAN, especially in the era of remote work, that's a really fast-growing market, and it's something that a lot of businesses are deploying right now. Gartner is expecting global SD-WAN revenues to go at a 28% compound growth rate through 2024. So fast-growing market, one you want to get into. If you don't have a lot of expertise in that now, this is a relatively easy way to get in. But it's particularly appealing for that reason if you are not an MSP. So there are, and managed services feels like the thing that's been around forever. Could there still be channel pros out there who are not doing managed services? There really are. And there are, so there are still companies looking for a way to transition into managed services and become MSPs. And here's something, a managed offering that you as a VAR, a reseller, a solution provider who, you're not doing managed services today. Here's something that in that fully managed model, you can basically take off the shelf, start rolling it out to your customers. You are an MSP, and you don't have to, you don't even have to run the help desk, essentially. This is that sort of training wheel baby step into managed services for somebody out there who is looking for that quick way to get started in that space. So that, to me, was one of the things that was particularly interesting about this solution.
Very interesting. Paul, any thoughts on this? Do you do SD-WAN all in house, or would you be excited about something like this where you can have
I like something like this, and I like it because like you just said, Rich, it's kind of training wheels for someone who's not really familiar with it. An MSP of R can do this, learn from the best, Masergy, Ingram, Fortinet, some pretty well-known brands out there, and deliver an end solution to the table that, as you obviously you're leaving some profit on the table, right, by going this way. but as you learn and as you grow up, this is the place to start.
So, speaking on that point, though, Rich, did they kind of talk about how much of the margin is left on the table, what they charge for this?
No, they did not get very specifically into pricing, so it's hard to say. But again, I mean, if this is something that customers need and want, and that you've just really never been positioned to offer before, in a sense, it's all gravy.
That's true. It's nothing but ups. It's all gravy. What kind of gravy would it be, Rich? Like white gravy, sausage gravy, brown gravy? When you think it's all gravy and gravy is good, what kind of gravy are you going for?
It's funny. I'm not a gravy connoisseur, so whatever kind of gravy it is I put on my turkey every year in November, that's the one I want.
That's the old turkey gravy. Paul, are you a gravy guy?
I am a turkey gravy Thanksgiving guy, but recently I've got a lot of Italian friends, and they talk about gravy. They talk about tomato sauce.
Oh, that's what they call. That's what they call it. They call that gravy.
Well, it's Sunday sauce, right? Oh,
interesting. So I'm a Midwesterner, right? So when I think
I
gravy,
can't call it tomato sauce. I get in trouble.
as a Midwesterner, when I think gravy, I'm thinking like biscuits and gravy. That's my go-to. That is delicious stuff. So that's what I want for gravy. But the kind of gravy that Rich is talking about is the green kind of gravy, and that is the kind that everybody should want to get. So very cool stuff. Rich, Paul, anything else to add on this particular story? Shaking their heads. I think we covered it good. But folks, there's lots in here to go and check out and go learn more about. So hit the show notes and go and check out these articles on the ChannelProNetwork.com website. With that, we are going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to plow forward in our what will be 4-part episode. Coming up next is going to be a special interview with Laurie Mitchell from Wasabi Technologies. You are not going to want to miss it. We'll be right back. And welcome back to part 2 of ChannelProWeekly. Perhaps other than hosted email, cloud storage is one of the oldest services MSPs have offered. Today, almost everyone sells it, making it more of a commodity. But it doesn't have to be that way. Here to share some insights about what you can do to turn cloud storage from a commodity to a revenue, efficiency, and security opportunity is Laurie Mitchell, Vice President of Partner and International Marketing at Wasabi Technologies. Welcome, Laurie.
Welcome, Matt. Nice to be here.
It's great to have you on. I gave a little bit of outline of kind of what we're going to talk about, but I'd love to learn a little bit more about you. So let's take a minute to tell us about you and what you do.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Laurie Mitchell, Vice President of International and Partner Marketing for Wasabi, and I've been at Wasabi about 3 years. I was brought on board to build a channel and technology alliance partner program. When Wasabi first started, we didn't have any channels, we didn't have any programs, all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of my history. My expertise is small companies building out programs and starting from the ground up and growing at scale. Really excited that Wasabi has gone from about 650 MSPs. When I first started, there was about 650 MSPs that had just kind of found us organically. Without any programs or enablement or anything at all. And we've grown that now to over 10,000 channel partners in just a few short years. So kind of hyper growth mode here at Wasabi. And that's my role.
Wow, I know a little bit about math, and that's a lot of percents that you've grown for sure. So now you do have a lot of MSP partners now, but I'm sure there's a wide variety of vendors and companies to work with on the channel. For those who maybe aren't familiar with Wasabi, can you kind of give us a little rundown about the company and what you offer?
Yeah, absolutely. So Wasabi is offering hot cloud storage, and what that is it's cloud object storage. That's really all we do. It's what we specialize in. And that's what makes us special. We started our business in 2015. It was founded by David Friend and Jeff Flowers. They were the two founders of also Carbonite, which you may have heard of. And their history there had a very sound base in actual storage because they were doing backup solutions at the time. So they said, all right, our next business is going to be focused solely on that expertise, the technical expertise in cloud storage. So we launched our service in 2017. And like you said, we've just grown in leaps and bounds in the last couple of years. We're privately funded. We have had a series of funding rounds. We've got about 275 million in funding today. We have storage regions all across the globe. So we now have 11 storage regions. 5 of them are in North America, 4 in Europe, 2 in APAC, and we're continuing to build that out over time as the market demand. So the market demand for cloud storage is there. It's absolutely huge. What's great about storage is everybody needs it. So it's a perfect fit for the channel. The opportunity is just massive.
For sure. And it looks like, now is Wasabi a kind of a distributed workforce, work from home kind of thing? Because it looks like you're at, for those who are watching, it looks like you're at home and not in a big office building.
I am at home. And yeah, we're actually headquarters in Boston. And since the pandemic, we've gone very remote. Originally, there was most of us in the office all the time. And then we went immediately remote. And then now we're kind of always remote. There's still an office there. And if you want to go to it, you can, and you don't need to go to it. So we've been operating really well and scaling, and actually adding a lot of people all over the globe has been almost easier because of, everybody being remote and Zoom and all of that. So it's fun.
Very cool. Now I see your background. There's a kind of like a big colorful picture. Did you paint that? It looks like you went to a place and did that.
No, but my husband actually did that one at some kind of a conference event where they had a fun, one of those wine and painting nights kind of thing. He was so proud of it. He made me put it up there.
Yeah, that's why I asked, is my wife has done some things like that. And that's kind of like what she brought home was something like that. So, well, it looks very nice. Well, so you're not into painting. So what do you like to do?
Oh, I've done a few of those in my past as well.
Oh, have you? Is that your big hobby, or what else do you like to do?
No. That's just a corporate thing or something you do with the soccer moms kind of thing.
So what do you like to do? You like sports? Do you like surfing? What do you do for fun?
Yeah, no, I love skiing. I love going to the beach. I love hanging out with my kids and my pup over here that's hopefully not going to bark. So
oh, well, we always love it when we get a canine friend on Channel Pro Weekly. What kind of dog do you have?
I have a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel named Clover, and she's 2 years old.
Oh, so just out of the
quietly. So let's hope it stays that way.
Yeah, just out of the puppy stage. That's good. They tend to calm down a lot after 2 years. So, well, very cool. So Rich, why don't I turn it over to you to kind of frame the conversation of what we're going to talk about?
Yeah, and you included sort of the key jumping off point in the setup there, which is the idea that is probably pretty common, widespread among folks who are listening or watching to the show right now, that cloud storage, especially these days, is one of those things everybody needs. Every customer out there needs to do that. But precisely for that reason, and because there are so many different options in that market right now, it's kind of a commoditized offering. It's something that you've got to do, but it's not necessarily something that's going to be a big source of differentiation or revenue and so on. So before we kind of get into how folks can maybe address that issue, I mean, is the premise of this conversation correct, Laurie, that for the average MSP or channel pro out there right now, if you're not kind of coming at this the right way, cloud storage could just be a commoditized offering?
Yeah, I mean, it could be, and everybody needs it. Not all the MSPs, I think, are selling it yet. Or like some of them do bring your own storage kind of thing. But I think the opportunity is there for them to use cloud storage in everything that they do, and particularly a backup environment. So, one of the biggest plays that Wasabi has is, it's just an easy add-on to services you're already offering, like backup and replication. And we've seen a lot of success in that area. But also then that's exacerbated by the move to prevent ransomware. So having a backup strategy with a 3-2-1 backup rule, which is a typical standard, traditionally requires at least one of your copies to be off-site. And that off-site place could be, off-premise, just on tape. It could be a hard drive sitting somewhere in a storage unit, just degrading quality. But what's great about immutable cloud storage, like what we have, with object lock in particular, if you can use object lock with your favorite backup and replication partner, like a Veeam or a Commvault or MSP360, for example, then your storage is not just air gapped and immutable, but it's also no one can delete it, and you can also get it back really quickly. So if you're sitting in a vault somewhere, it's difficult to get your stuff back. But if it's in the cloud, it can come back very, very quickly. So that high speed recovery time is critical. So you can offer a whole service around that, position that as an additional added value service, right, as an MSP.
And so you're talking about using the Wasabi platform almost like an archive location to create that air gap, essentially, between that cloud backup or copy of the backup and the others out there. So this is basically an affordable but relatively quick kind of way to have that offsite copy of the data. Yep,
exactly.
We should go back because you mentioned early on that Wasabi and this is reflected in the name of the company, and it's been true as long as I've known about Wasabi. You guys do hot cloud storage. So I mean, when I first learned about the company a few years back, there were two statistics in particular about the speed of the platform and the cost of the platform that sort of caught my attention. So we should probably explain to folks in the audience when you say hot cloud storage, what do you mean?
Yeah, exactly. So typical cloud storage comes in different tiers, right? So if you might have cold storage or, other different levels of storage, and you would have to go out and figure out like how much storage is old that I want to stick in less expensive archive storage or put in different levels. And with Wasabi, we thought, why not make everything one tier of always available, always on, active archive, if you will. So everything's hot, if you will, which is thus the hot cloud storage, and therefore the name Wasabi, which evokes the term hot.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a little bit off the backup topic, but I remember when we had David Friend, the CEO of the company, on the podcast, he was talking about it. It's hot enough. You're not going to put like production data, stuff that you're going to a lot on there, but stuff that you might want to get to relatively quickly. The example that pops into my head is he was talking about like medical imaging, X-rays, where it's okay for the doctor or the nurse to wait 3 seconds for that image to pop up in the office. And this is the kind of thing that cloud storage ordinarily just doesn't get used for, because it's particularly, an archive repository, because it's just too slow.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're finding, the use cases for cloud storage are, all across the board. We're finding, for media and entertainment, there's active, remote collaboration. So people are working on the same files at the same time, but a lot of it is for, simple archiving, accessibility of your data, whether it's healthcare, whether it's, we're doing a ton in higher education archiving their IT data, archiving their libraries of data, things like that. And it's just super affordable. So we've taken the economic impact of cloud storage and made it super simple, and made it absolutely, not just accessible, but like if you want to even just test out your backups, for example, you're not spending a ton of money just saying, oh, I wonder if this backup worked, and then spending a ton of money in egress fees and things like that you might get with the different levels of the hyperscalers. So it's very affordable. And sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that was the thing that first got my attention about Wasabi when I first learned about the company. And these statistics may have changed since then, but I remember the very first time I heard about the company, you folks were saying that your service was, I believe, 5 times as fast as Amazon S3 and 1/5 the cost. And I thought, okay, that's an interesting value proposition. I don't know if those numbers still apply.
Yeah, so we're as fast as the hyperscalers, and we're still 1/5 the cost. And, even at that archive level, we're still, competitive. But again, you don't have to put it in an archive and do the calculus it takes to figure out where your data actually is or should be. It's just all in one spot, which makes it super simple. So the simplicity of it all is what's super attractive, and especially to MSPs, don't have time or energy to put into figuring that all out or making it complex pricing models to your customer base, right? It's just simple, one price, and then off you go.
So you were talking about immutability before, and that's critical these days because the ransomware attackers will hunt down backups wherever they live and encrypt those too. Is there some technology built into the platform that enables that air gapping, that immutability?
Yeah, so we have a feature functionality called object lock, and then we also have bucket level immutability. So what that means is, if you're storing data in a storage bucket, you can make the entire bucket all immutable, or at the actual object level, case by case, file by file, you can make that immutable. So it can be based on, your compliance policies, or it can be just simply based on, what the needs of your customers are to eliminate accidental deletion or deletion, on purposeful deletion by bad actors, things like that. But your data is, cannot be touched at all. So that's the feature functionality that works. And some of the backup vendors have implemented that object lock level of immutability into their backup solutions with Wasabi.
So when I was exchanging emails with some of your folks before we set up this interview, the topic that you said you were interested in talking about was, how cloud storage, instead of being a commodity, the same thing everyone else is kind of offering, could be a source of revenue, efficiency, and security. So we've kind of set up the offer. You can go to your customer, you're saying, and say, I have a service offering that's going to add this offsite element to your backup strategy and protect you from ransomware. So let's just run through that list and kind of talk about the difference that it could make for an MSP in the audience. And we'll start with revenue. I mean, if you do create that kind of offering, how big a revenue impact potentially does that service have?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So, how MSPs price is really up to them. What Wasabi does is we offer a partner program with discount models for the channel. So you get a discount off of our service, and you can price and offer your service. You can bundle Wasabi right in, for example. You can offer this, backup as a service. And you can completely take our price, and you can take our price and change it into whatever your pricing model looks like, for example. And then we also have something, in addition to a pay-as-you-go model, we have something called reserved capacity pricing. So you can actually buy Wasabi in a 1, 3, or 5-year contract. And that gives additional discount levels for commitment to multiple years and commitment to higher volumes of storage. So again, that just adds an additional level of profitability for any kind of channel to build your own service offering, I guess, around it and package it the way you want to.
That's actually a good spot to ask. I want to ask Paul a question. So Paul, right now, I'm sure you, like all other MSPs, have some kind of data backup solution you're using. Are you going to customers with that right now and saying, hey, I do this, or is this as commoditized as we all kind of think it is? And do you see it as a revenue opportunity or no?
A backup, it's definitely not only it's kind of your job as an MSP. Like, to me, backup is your number one responsibility as an MSP. If I come across a client, an opportunity, they don't want some sort of backup, some sort of redundancy, they're just not going to be a client of mine, right? I don't think it's become, there's different ways of pricing and packaging your backup as an MSP, and like Laurie was saying, there's different kinds of backup. There's right places for both of them. We have clients where they have a lot of media, a lot of images. That's good for some kind of backup. And then you have your your cold data. You have your archives that, you should save your old emails, right? You never know. I just the other day I had to go back to an email from 2017, and I'm glad I had that email. Other people, they periodically go through their mailbox and say, oh, if it's older than 2 years, I don't need it, right?
So it lets us all be the pack rat that I want to be on my email.
Go ahead, Rick.
So let's talk about, so that's revenue. Let's move on to efficiency. So what is the sort of efficiency value proposition for the MSPs in our audience around this offering we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, so the efficiency is going to be your standard cloud efficiency, right? So you don't have to manage your own network or anything like that. It's cloud storage as a service. So it's all run by Wasabi. It's run in our data centers. It's very easy for you to set it up and provision it. Everything is done remote. Organizations, you can complement your on-prem storage by putting some of it in the cloud. It's just really easy. I mean, that's the reason the MSPs in particular are taking it up so fast, is because you can come to our website, you can sign up for it, like with the click of a button. You can be literally storing data today in the next couple of hours if you wanted to. And we've also automated everything from a learning perspective to make it super easy. So we have, partner portal full of self-service learning and how to set everything up, and everything from how to train your sales and how to train your marketing teams. Everything's kind of set up for immediate and fast setup. So it's actually really efficient. And that's why we're getting this very fast uptick and economies of scale. And you're seeing the channel grow so fast.
It's interesting because we were talking about revenue just a few moments ago, but I mean, a lot of what you're talking about comes down to margin, to profit, basically, in terms of, leaving room for pricing, giving the MSP the flexibility to set their own prices and do that in a way that builds some profit in, and then delivering the service in a way that reduces overhead, at the other end of the profit equation.
Yep, absolutely.
And so the trio there, the last one is security. So I mean, do you a lot of vendors do you folks at Wasabi view this kind of backup as a service offering primarily as a security service?
I mean, well, it didn't start off that way. We've been selling into backup environments since day one. And only in the last couple of years, it's really become front and center, especially because of the ransomware situation that's happening. And it's all over the headlines every day, it feels like lately. And every time we talk about ransomware, everybody's ears perk up. So security is front and center. I think it's on everyone's minds. It's an important topic. So it's a natural evolution of a standard backup strategy to add that additional level of security positioning to the story.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk a little bit about positioning, maybe. I mean, do you have any advice? Is there any advice you offer to partners about how to package, how to label, how to message, how to sell this kind of an offering, so that customers understand the value, but also that you as the MSP you get out of that commoditization zone and get the benefit of the stickiness and the value that you're delivering to them. Do you have any kind of sales and marketing advice around this sort of offering?
Yeah, it's our favorite thing to do. So if nothing else, Wasabi is fantastic at our sales and marketing, and we pride ourselves on our edgy marketing and our fun marketing brand as well, not just Wasabi hot cloud storage, but you'll see us doing some really fun marketing things to get people's attention. We have, I mean, there's so many things you could do from a marketing and positioning perspective. And I mean, I would say, security should be front and center in your MSP positioning. You not only are you, managing IT services, but you're going to be that trusted advisor on the security side. And adding a ransomware just saying the word ransomware in your positioning gets people's attention, and gets people excited about paying attention to your service. Wasabi offers a ton of marketing resources available to our partners. So, you can come to our partner portal, and we built out campaigns in a box. So for example, you want to run a promo on ransomware. We've got ransomware messaging, graphics. We've got social media posts already drafted. We've got email templates already drafted. So, we're kind of experts at marketing. So we just make everything cut and paste and cookie cutter for the channel. So you can come and use our messaging and put your brand on it and run a whole campaign. Tons of expertise on that, and would love to spread that wealth all around.
There are different schools of thought about this kind of thing. Like you were talking about the option to sort of bundle this in with other things that you're giving the customer. And some people, particularly with respect to anything related to backup, some people really believe that's the thing to do. And there are others who think anything that touches on security should, at a minimum, be part of a separate security bundle, but could also just be offered separately as a security service. I mean, do you folks have any thoughts at Wasabi about whether this is something to sell on its own or as part of a security bundle, as opposed to just part of the bigger bundle that you're offering your clients?
Yeah, I mean, you can almost do both is what I'm thinking. You position your backup standard, and then you position a security story. And, we work with technology alliances, right? Wasabi doesn't do anything without another application there sending the data to it. And we've started to partner up with some of the security vendors like Bitdefender and things like that. They'll work with like a Veeam, and they'll say, okay, you can clean up your data before it gets to your backup. So use Bitdefender, clean up your data, send it to Veeam. Veeam now has a clean version of your data that it's backing up. And then you back that up to immutable cloud storage. And that's like a nice triple play that you can kind of position, the full security story front to end. So yeah, we're seeing some of that as well.
Paul, does that align with your kind of security backup strategy that you offer your clients?
Yeah, so we separate our managed services from our security, from our backup. There's definitely some overlay in there. Like I said before, like you've got to have backup, but you've also got to have security. And but also part of your security is your backup strategy. Your records, how fast you can get your data back is almost as important as actually backing it up, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Do you do kind of that 3-2-1 strategy that we're talking about, or do you have kind of your own method?
So we do 3-2-1-0. Going back to the on-site appliance itself. So we'll back up depending on the system, depending on the network. Client needs, as frequently as every 15 minutes to every hour. And those get retained, with a retention policy based on the client's needs and, cost as well.
Yeah, interesting. So, Laurie, while I got you, and I don't want to derail the conversation completely, but I was browsing the Wasabi website, and as immutable cloud storage as backup, it makes sense. But it seems like there's also some interesting. There's this interesting product you have that's called the Wasabi Cloud Nas, and it's like you're trying to get people away from using like a local file storage device itself. What's the Wasabi plan for unstructured data, and how does that work?
Yeah, so we have a product called Wasabi Cloud Nas, and it's kind of a newer product. And we have customers that come to us asking for what looks more like file storage. So we do have that offering. Like I said, it's relatively new, and we're figuring out where that's going to take us next. But the bread and butter of our business is the object storage.
Cool. Interesting. Yeah, I hadn't seen that product line before, but it operates as local storage, basically.
Yeah, exactly. It actually like looks like you can actually have file, on your desktop, it looks like files are local, but as you can set your own policies, and as things are aging to a certain age, you can push them to the cloud, and then it frees up space on your local disk, kind of thing.
Wow, going after like the OneDrives of the world. Interesting.
Oh yeah, that's what I said. And we also partner with companies that do similar things. So there's
Yeah, very cool. So Paul, let me turn to you. Did you have any questions that you wanted to ask Laurie, or any insights that you have to offer about kind of what we're talking about?
Yeah, so Laurie, so as an MSP, I come to purchase your product. Am I purchasing a block of storage data for a particular client, or am I acquiring that for my MSP to, timeshare out to my base?
Yep, that's a great question. So you have options is the answer. You can do it either way, honestly. We have some management tools that allow you to buy storage and then parse it out in a multi-tenant kind of nature. It's called Wasabi Account Control Manager. So you can use that as an MSP and manage your end customers on their behalf. You could also just sell a chunk of storage, like kind of resell a chunk of storage, almost like it looks like a piece of on-prem equipment, but it's actually a block of storage that's in the cloud. And that's the reserve capacity model I described earlier. So you would just sell, a contract, if you will, for 1 year of cloud storage for 100 terabytes, for example. And you could do it that way as well. So you have options.
And many MSPs also are in the space of doing co-managed services. So there's an actual on-site, IT person, maybe an IT director, and we're kind of delivering some additional solutions. Can that be co-managed?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So Laurie, the Cloud NAS product might be kind of an example of this, but I mean, cloud storage is what you guys do. It's the one thing that you are really kind of focused on. Everything's moving into the cloud. The cloud itself is sort of evolving at a very rapid speed. Do you folks have any thoughts about where cloud storage kind of goes from now? I mean, archiving, which we talked about, or even file storage, NAS. These are in some ways somewhat traditional applications for cloud storage. But do you see as the cloud maybe gets faster, more reliable, et cetera, do you folks see that the potential uses of cloud storage expanding?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I'd be guessing how many different use cases are actually being used today for hot cloud storage. But if I look at the portfolio of our customer base, it spans, lots of different use cases, not just backup. Backup is probably the bread and butter, but we're seeing use cases in media and entertainment, like I described, that are, archiving and backup for that, but also remote collaboration is people in production environments using it, and post-production environments using it for media. We also are seeing a lot in video surveillance storage. So like that's kind of a newer emerging, where used to store your video surveillance on an on-prem device. It's very expensive to do that, and you can only store so much. And so in the video surveillance space, they're just now starting to embrace cloud, which is the perfect timing for someone like Wasabi, who comes in with an affordable, simple, one flat price. Now you can store, a lot more times worth of data for video surveillance than you ever could before. So that's been a very growing business. We also see, lots of emerging things. You can, there's things in IoT or AI, machine learning, data lakes. There's just tons of, it's almost like the world is your oyster, and you have to figure out the right places to go fish first. So, I just see it being a huge, huge market potential.
Yeah, wow. When you start talking about video like surveillance storage, I in the back of my mind start thinking, how many like gigabytes or terabytes or whatever, like that night it could take up an endless amount of storage, right? How much, if you had to estimate how many terabytes of storage or petabytes, zettabyte, whatever it is. How big is the Wasabi Cloud?
Well, so like I said, we're continuously expanding in all these geographies and adding more storage regions as the demand hits us. So we're trying to stay ahead of the demand, obviously. But yeah, I mean, right now, say we have about an exabyte of storage under management.
That's a lot of bits.
Yep.
That's a lot of bits. And it doesn't seem like anybody ever deletes anything ever. So it's like, it's only going to get more massive, right?
Just going to get bigger. It's just, and right. And the file sizes are getting bigger and people are keeping stuff longer. Paul wants to keep all his email. Everyone wants to keep all their photos forever. It's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Wow, it's crazy to think about, and it's cool to see that companies like yours are rising to the challenge to try and make it easy and cost effective. For those who want to go and learn more about Wasabi and more about your channel programs, partners, how can they get a hold of you? Where can they go? How can they learn more? Yeah,
absolutely. Just go to wasabi.com. Everything's there. Anyone wants to join our channel program, you can click on Become a Partner. You can get yourself set up very quickly. Like I said earlier, you can click through. Everything's automated. We also have, sales and channel teams there to help you. We have a partner marketing team that's there to help you. So, just go to Become a Partner and click right there.
Very cool. And everyone should go to the cost estimator page, because there's two little sliders and you can make little colored bars go up and down. And it's really, really fun. So I highly recommend it. Laurie, thank you so much for being on. Fascinating discussion, a lot of good insights and knowledge, and hopefully we will have you back on to talk about a different topic sometime down the road. In the meantime, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we will have Paul with us on the other side, and I think another interview, right, Rich?
That's correct.
Yeah, so we have another interview coming up. Going to be very interesting. I'm not even going to tell you what it is. You're just going to have to join us on the other side of the break to find out. It'll be worth it. We'll see everybody in a few minutes. Thanks. And welcome back to part 3 of Channel Pro Weekly. Usually part 3 is where we wrap up the show, but we got a bonus for you this particular episode. A few weeks ago, we discussed a company called SkyAMP as a vendor to watch, who claims to have created a new method of wireless signal amplification to boost Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and 4G signals. But here's the interesting part. It doesn't require electricity or a battery or cables. According to their website, it does so through physics interactions between a proprietary blend of materials and operates on a quantum level to clean local wireless signals. We think the product sounded very interesting, but we're naturally a little skeptical of its claims. Well, here to address those questions about the company's fascinating but mysterious wireless signal boosting technology is the president of SkyAMP himself, Jason Howell. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. Before we kind of dive into the meat of it, tell us a little bit more about you and a little bit more about SkyAMP.
Sure. So we've been in existence for about 1.5 years. And before that, ironically, I've been running a commissioned software company for about 18 years. But I do have some wireless and communications background in a former life working for the Department of Defense. So so I've got some interesting background and a lot of different experience, but yeah, that all has come together helping out with what we've developed here at SkyAMP.
For sure. Okay, so you were working for the DoD for a while, right? And then you were doing software. So what made you want to try to invent a new product? Where did that come from?
Well, it was invented out of necessity. We had encountered a storm here in Iowa called a derecho. It caused $11 billion worth of damage. And we had no power in our area at all. At my house, I had no power for 6 straight days. And my children, of course, in the midst of a natural disaster, decided the most important thing was to get on social media. And so they're standing out in the middle of the street because they figured out they could get their phones to work. And I thought, well, we can't do this. So I tried to find a signal booster that didn't need any power or anything because I couldn't get my hands on a generator. And I couldn't find anything. So I thought, well, this should exist. So I made the first one, which was quite ugly, and it worked. And that was 8 versions ago and 1.5 years ago, and here we are. So it's been a wild ride, but that's why it was created. So
It was created so your kids wouldn't stand in the middle of the street trying to access TikTok videos.
Exactly. I didn't want them to be turned into pancakes. So
and you know what? As a dad myself, I would also not want my children to turn into pancakes.
yes.
That would not be good. So very interesting. So what part of the country are you in? Did you say?
I'm in Iowa. We're in the Midwest, so about 3 hours west of Chicago, actually.
Oh, perfect. Like the Dubuque area, or
an hour south of there. So, yep.
Okay. So what? Moline?
Quad cities, Davenport, Moline, Bettendorf, the Quad City area, right on the Mississippi River. So.
Yeah, the nearest Hertz Donuts now to us is now in Bettendorf because the one in Madison closed.
Yes.
my kids do baseball and softball travel, so we actually end up in that neck of the woods frequently.
In the Flex area, yes. So very popular for sports.
Yeah, very cool. So SkyAMP was started a year ago, and you took this one product that you'd made and decided to capitalize and commercialize it. Tell us about that.
So yeah, our investor had called me, and he saw it on Facebook, and he said, "Why haven't you patented this?" And I said, "Well, it's an expensive process, and it's been a year of COVID, so the coffers aren't exactly flush." And he said, I'm in. This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen." And that's the short of it. We got a patent, and we started this into a business. We got a building, and we are manufacturing here. I sit 30 feet from our production floor. But and now we've got them for Wi-Fi, for Bluetooth, for cellular, and we just came out with a new model. We haven't even announced it fully yet, for voice over IP cordless. So we've got a few different things going on. And like you said, we've just been doing it since August of 2020. And we think we've moved very fast for being in the middle of a pandemic this whole time as well. So, yeah.
Very cool. So the whole reason you're on is because we were talking about your company a few episodes ago. And and I know you heard the conversation was we're interested, we're fascinated. Obviously, we're a little skeptical. The website doesn't really give a good inclination on kind of how it works or the results of how it works. So we'll dive into that in a second, but tell us a little bit about the product itself and what it does.
So our products are wireless signal boosters, and they basically have three main features. They boost, they clean, and they spread the signal. So regardless of whether it's Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or cellular, they all do the same functions where they're taking that signal, they're going to amplify it. So if you've got one bar in your basement or out in a remote location for your Wi-Fi and it's not working very well, this actually will boost that signal back up. So you'll have normal Wi-Fi speeds, and it extends the signal to go even further. And we have models that'll go up to, for Wi-Fi 600 or 1,000 feet. And then it cleans the signal as well. So it's actually removing signal noise. And because our product doesn't use power from the outside, we're not adding power, so we're not adding noise to it, and we're removing it, which is why we always say 2 bars with SkyAMP is better than 2 bars without SkyAMP, because it'll actually make that signal faster, so to speak, because it's reducing packet loss and that sort of thing.
Yeah, Jason, when we did last talk about this product on the podcast, I said something that was actually inaccurate. I made some kind of brief reference to a setup process of some kind, but we've subsequently talked about this a little bit. I mean, this thing is working inside the box. It's working the second you take it outside of the box. There really is no setup, right? I mean, you position it somewhere, and as long as that's not a metal shelf, that's the one sort of restriction you guys announced. As long as you don't put it right directly on top of something metal, it's just doing the amplification and the cleaning, etc., for any and every signal within range immediately. Correct?
That is absolutely correct. In fact, our slogan is just set it and get it. And when you open our new boxes that we're producing now, actually say that your signal is starting to improve now, because the second the product is in your area, as you said, as long as it's placed properly, it begins functioning. And yes, you don't want to put it on top of a metal shelf or stone. Doesn't mean it can't be in a metal building. We just can't have metal or stone directly underneath the product. Other than that, you're able to place it in just about anywhere. So, because we use them in our building because we need it in our building, and our facility here in Iowa is all metal, and where there isn't metal, it's brick and stone, and that's the enemy of RF. But it does work inside the facility.
So, the difficulty that you must run into constantly is that you cannot answer the questions that people most want to ask, right? Because I mean, this is what you patented. This is what you are selling. Is you figured something out nobody else knows how to do, that allows this device to perform these highly needed functions without any electricity whatsoever. So I mean, how much can you kind of tell us just to help us understand what, and this is a very compact device too. We're not talking about something that, needs a room and so on. It sits on a shelf. It's this relatively small thing that without any power at all does something really useful. What can you tell us about what makes that possible?
Sure. So I do get that question all the time. And at first our attorneys were like, no, you cannot say anything, keep your mouth shut. And I've told them, like, hey guys, I have to be able to share something because I'm getting called a snake oil salesman here. And so basically what we do, it does operate at a quantum level. So we like to say it's a simple design, but it's actually quite complex. But basically what we do is we take the energy from the waves coming into the device and you repurpose that energy, so to speak, to amplify the signal. And ours are so finely tuned specifically to those bands, those wireless bands, that we're only using anything for that frequency, which is how it cleans it. And we have some other crazy things in there that, no, I don't want to share on how we're doing our filtering and cleaning versus, how other products may be removing signal noise. But yeah, we've got as our website says, a very proprietary mix of material that we have figured out works the best for these signals, because there was a lot of refining. As I said earlier, we're on our 8th version of this product that has gone final production. But yeah, we're basically repurposing those waves, and it gets into traveling waves and standing waves, and there's a lot to it. So sometimes when I start getting technical, people look at me and go, okay, whatever, it works, I guess. But that's I think the simplest way I can describe how it works. But I'm happy to elaborate further if you have more questions on that.
So I mean, so that's really interesting. So there is circuitry of some kind inside the box, but the power is coming from the wireless signal.
Yeah, I wouldn't define it as circuitry, but I mean there's definitely wires and components and things inside like you would expect to find in something like this. But yeah, there's no battery in there. There's no solar panels, and when we say we don't use electricity from the outside, we're being very literal with that. But radio waves are made of energy. That's what radio waves are. It's non-ionized, radioactive particles, so they're safe. It's just as safe as sitting next to your FM radio. Because I've had people ask that too. Well, aren't you worried about 5G and all of these things? Well, that's regardless of what's out there. Those radio waves are harmless to the human body. But yeah, we're taking that stuff in and taking all those multiple instances of the radio waves coming in on those bands and kind of merging it together, so to speak, and that's how we get our amplification. And it's a very simple way of doing it, but it's apparently never been done like this before. So I know in the 60s NASA had done some experimenting with trying to do something like this, and it didn't work out very well. And we like to think that we've perfected it. So,
and I mean, so you identified a use case when your kids are out on the road on Facebook or whatever. I mean, yeah. Did this basic approach to that need? Did you already have that? I'm curious what gets you from somebody ought to make a device that performs this function to that very particular kind of design. Is this something that you guys worked out in the lab, or did you kind of have an idea going in?
So I made the first one at my house in the basement, and just out of stuff I have laying around, because as you probably guessed from my background, I'm a tech geek. I've been in technology my entire life. I've been playing with, computers and taking things apart since I was 10 years old. And so I have a lot of weird things laying around my house, which my wife just loves. And I took that with some materials I actually purchased at the store, one of the few stores that was powered on a generator. And I came up with the first idea, and it worked. And I said, I was like, wow, I'm onto something here. And when I started talking about it online, everybody I know is going, oh my gosh, look, you've done something amazing. You should market this. And when my investor got involved, I said, okay, let's see what we can do. And he said, I want you to see what you can do with this. Can you come up with other products? Can you, do other types of, bands? Because the first one was just for cellular. We knew it worked on Verizon, and that's all I knew at the time. And I went through and started playing with other bands and other types of wireless, and discovered that I could basically do it for any frequency or any type of wireless signal that's out there, as long as everything was, designed properly. And when we realized the need for that, I had so many people contacting me going, I need to buy one of those. Let me know when that's working, because of fill in the blank scenario. And so here we are, and we've had tremendous response from all kinds of different types of businesses in the industry and end users alike that have been so interested in, what we've got, and the amount of applications out there. I mean, people are coming to us now with things that they can do with it that we never even thought of. I mean, we thought of it all, but we learn something new every day about different, problems that people are having, because I don't think anybody is immune to, Wi-Fi or cellular problems. Everybody's at least got one spot where they know, it doesn't work over there. So we're doing everything we can to fill all of those different types of needs with different products. They go different ranges. And of course, everything needs to be smaller. Everybody always wants smaller. So we'll have a 5G line coming out later this year. And we're really excited about that, because there's not that many products on the market right now that actually support 5G. But that'll be rolling out here hopefully by summer.
So just to kind of put people in a ballpark, for folks who are new to the products, because we talked about this on the podcast a few episodes ago, but some folks don't remember or weren't listening to that episode. I mean, what are the price points like on these devices?
So our prices range anywhere from $350 to $1,495, and on the low end, at $349 and $449, we have a cellular product and a Wi-Fi product. And for those of you that are watching the video, the product behind me that I'm pointing at, that's the size of our two smaller units. That one in particular it's about a foot wide, and it's very narrow. It's not very tall, about 5-6 inches tall. That'll go 600 feet, and that's our Wi-Fi product for $449. We have a cellular one that goes 20 feet, and it's $349. And the nice thing about our products, besides the fact that they don't use power, is there's no installation. There's no pairing. You don't have to put a SIM card in it. There's no configuration needed. Which is why, again, we say just set it and get it, because it couldn't be easier, to use on that. So it's a port, 20 feet might sound worthless to some people, but you can carry that around, take it. I keep one in my car. And sometimes it comes out with me if I'm at a campground where the signal's really bad. I'll take it with me, and we can do what we need to do with our phones at a campground. But we do have a 600-foot cellular model for homes and businesses, and it's $649. And then the $1,495 is our Pro. It's an enterprise class, and that's it goes 1,000 feet, and it does Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and cellular. So it's everything in one box. But I wouldn't expect people to put that in their house necessarily. That's really geared towards outdoor use, businesses, factories, warehouses, places that are just signal killers. That's really what that's intended for. So there's 4 models right now. Soon it will be 6, because as I mentioned, we have the one for the voice over IP for the DECT, which is actually the same size as this one sitting behind me, and its range is 600 feet. And then we've got a really crazy model coming out that I don't want to talk about too much yet, but it's a Wi-Fi specific model. and the range. I mean, it'll do full speed. We tested it up to 500 feet away in one direction, and we were having 65 megs down off of 150 meg signal at 500 feet. So we're really excited about that product, and there'll be a lot more information coming out about that one soon.
What determines the range of the product? Can the range of these essentially be unlimited, just the bigger you build it, or are there some technical limitations towards how much amplification they can do in the range? Right.
So there are technical limitations. I mean, we do have some play with how far we can make the signal spread. Now, I did not sit down and say, okay, I'm going to make it go 600 feet. It was, this is the best I can get this to go. This is the strongest I can make this. How far does it go? We'll go out and measure. We have the wheels on a stick that we walk around with to see how far the signal goes. But we do have some play, and that's one thing we're always working towards is how can we make these go stronger? How can we make them smaller? It's always trying to make everything better. And we got some other crazy stuff that I can't talk about yet that we're going to be coming out with, playing with different types of ranges, and we got all kinds of ideas, and we're always working to make them better. But yeah, so there is I'm sorry, that's a very long-winded answer, but yes, there is configurability with the range that we're able to do inside the product, and we're always trying to make it go further.
Interesting. So you said it works right now. You can kind of tailor it to work with kind of any band you want. You just have to design it to work with a specific frequency range. Other than say cellular or Wi-Fi or cordless phones, what other frequency ranges would you look at doing this for that would be useful?
So we've had a lot of interest from municipalities and first responders. There are some very strict legal requirements for construction of new types of buildings and houses and different facilities to allow the first responder radio, specifically firefighters, because with them it's a matter of life or death when these guys are up above a certain floor or down below ground a certain depth. The signal really starts to fade naturally, and we've had huge interest from that community. We actually have a call in a little while later today to discuss some of that even further. But that's the next thing we're looking at is how do we make those first responder radios work even better? And we've had some military interest because communications is obviously very important to them as well. And there's some other things that have been presented to us with satellite and doing some ground repeating and things like that. So we've had a lot of different types of organizations contact and reach out to us of, oh my gosh, how do we harness this tech for what we're doing? And we like to say we're everybody's best friend. We're not here to replace anybody. We're not here to knock anybody out. We just want to work with everybody and partner up and see what we can do to make everybody's signal problems go away.
So let's talk about the end use customer. What kind of results I'm sure your customers report kind of back what kind of results they're getting with it. What kind of improvements do end users generally see? Is it 20% better? Is it 30%? Does it kind of vary? What are you seeing out there?
Well, most of the time when customers send us feedback, it's usually a text message with some pictures into our main phone number here. So and a lot of times they're not looking at it in terms of percentages. And I'll give you one example. One of my favorite examples was a couple months ago. We had somebody from North Dakota said, I go out fishing. They're in what kind of looks like an RV to me, but it's a trailer specifically designed for ice fishing. And he says, I'm out in the middle of this lake. My phone never works. I usually have no service, and I can't do anything on my phone. I'm in my fishing, this trailer in the middle of the frozen lake. I've got 3 bars. And I'm able to make phone calls. I'm able to stream, and I couldn't be happier. He goes, I'm actually able to work from the lake, so I can do what I love and work at the same time. And that's one of my more favorite examples. But that's the type of response we usually get from people is, I wasn't able to do this here, and now I can, because that's everybody's favorite feature is they're able to get a signal somewhere where they couldn't before. And we hear for Wi-Fi, it's, everybody's got a spot of their house. We hear that all the time. Hey, I couldn't use this in my dining room or in my basement or in, the she shack I have out in the backyard. And now I can. Now my Wi-Fi works out there. We have a lot of interest from schools because they have massive problems. Schools are fortresses of concrete and steel and glass, and a lot of it's low E glass, low E glass is a big enemy of RF. And we hear from them, we couldn't use it on this side of the school, and now we can. And my daughter is in middle school, and she told me, Dad, we all had to go to the other wing because our Chromebooks didn't work over here. We couldn't, for whatever reason, the Wi-Fi wasn't transmitting out. And so and we're able to fix those things. We had a place that had a tornado bunker, 3 feet thick concrete walls. Wi-Fi didn't work, cell phones didn't work. They're able to use their phones and everything in there for the first time with our products. And they report we have 2 bars inside of a 3 foot thick, concrete walls. And that was amazing to them. And they were very excited to be able to have that usage in an emergency area.
Paul, you've been quiet so far. I'd love to see if you have any questions you want to ask or any thoughts. But you're muted though, so you might want to unmute before
there you go. I love this because I go to Florida quite frequently, and Florida is one big concrete block, right? Yeah. And I'm sure some other areas of the country have that kind of construction as well. Basements. You mentioned warehouses. This really penetrates through that. Do I have to put it put it by a window, put it outside?
So it depends on what kind of signal you're trying to boost. Wi-Fi is much easier to work with, so to speak. The placement isn't nearly as stringent as, say, the cellular signals. Our cellular products, you generally want to have them 6 to 10 feet off of the ground. And yeah, if your signal is really that bad, you might need to put it near a window. A good example of that was there's a parking garage, and I actually went on this demo usage myself. There's a parking garage underground underneath a very concrete stucco steel condo complex, and the parking garage underground obviously was all concrete. There was no signal down there, and we were able to take the signal and kind of relay it with 2 SkyAMPs, because you can daisy chain our products from the entrance ramp coming from above ground down into the parking garage. We were able to get that signal down there and relay it around. And we covered a third of the parking garage with just a couple of our products. So, and that, like I said, that was all concrete. So that's the long answer. I'm sorry, I'm very long-winded. But yes, we can do that.
I once used, Verizon. They have one of these range extenders. They plug into the Ethernet. Obviously, you power and internet. You don't use that, but with that product, what I remember was when I left the extension zone, the zone that it created. The call wouldn't have anywhere to go, so it would drop.
Right.
Do you have fluidity? I'm on the same network as before. It's
yeah. I mean, if you have no signal, your call will always drop. But with our products, like I said, you can daisy chain them, so you could go further out. And we recommend with Wi-Fi, put the product towards the end of the range where it's kind of on the fringe of where your Wi-Fi begins to fade and the signal begins to weaken. That's where you want our product, not next to a hotspot, just so that you can get that range that much further. And we don't have to be next to the hotspot. We don't have to be next to the cell phone tower, obviously, and to make that go further. But as long as you've got a connection and you can travel around anywhere inside, the product zone, and if hopefully you're picking up a tower when you come out on the other end, you've got a good signal, somewhere else, that call is going to continue. But yes, if you have no signal, the phone can't maintain a connection, and the call would drop, or your video would stop playing, or whatever you're trying to do.
Really cool.
One of the things I wondered about, so I had this image in my head that kind of amuses me of like the UPS guy, and he's got 10 of these in the back of the truck, doesn't know they're there, but all of a sudden he's getting 5 bars in the middle of nowhere, and what the hell is going on?
Yes.
But I mean,
that's happened. So
theoretically, I could put one of these in the trunk of my car and just not worry nearly as much about ever losing a signal if I'm driving around. Is that a use case?
Yes, and I drive a Wrangler, and there's a notorious spot in between here and my house where it'll say you've got a signal, you've got 3 or 4 bars, but nobody can do anything on their phones, and it's an extremely dense area. I think the tower's overloaded. But if I have the SkyAMP in my Jeep, I just set it on the back seat, and so it's not sliding around in my cargo area, and I never have an issue. I can keep my call if I'm doing any kind of data stream. It'll keep flowing while I get through that bad area and out the other side. And it's about a mile wide where this zone is, so it's not a small dead spot. But yeah, I mean, and I know several people that always keep them in their vehicles. We have some different businesses out there where they have a lot of employees driving around in areas where the signal is poor and is always poor because maybe they're in the energy industry or they're expanding the grid, and they want to put them in their trucks so that way their guys can always get a connection and not have to worry about not being able to make a phone call when you really desperately need to.
So speaking of cellular specifically, I mean, a lot of carriers use a lot of different bands, a lot of different frequencies. You mentioned that there's going to be a product specific to 5G. Does the cellular product work across all major carriers for 4G, or does some work better than others, depending on how it's tuned?
So yeah, our current line of cellular products, we like to say we're carrier agnostic. So it'll work with any LTE band out there. And I say LTE because there is some areas, very few, especially out west, that have CBRS for 4G, and our product does not support that. I mean, yet we may make a CBRS product, but there's a lot of FCC regulations and stuff surrounding that band in particular. But the LTE products, whether you have Verizon or T-Mobile or Mint or Spectrum or whatever, whoever your carrier is, our product will work with it, and that will be the case with 5G, which is why we don't have 5G out yet, because some of the bands were changing, and there's been some fighting with the Spectrum and sort of that sort of thing with the FCC and the FAA. But now that seems to kind of settled, we've had some conversations with the carriers. We're comfortable with proceeding with our 5G line, and yeah, it will work with all of the different bands, which makes it complicated for us because that's a lot to pack in a small product. But we are actively working on that. So,
interesting. What about when I think of signal amplification, I think one of the oldest needs around has been for television. Is there going to be a product someday to amplify TV stations, or is that too broad of a spectrum?
It is a broad spectrum. There's a lot of different bands and frequencies there. And it's something that people have asked us for. It's not as big as the demand as some of the other things, but it is something that people have asked. Hey, I want my TV to be better. We've also been approached for satellite TV. Is there a way you can fix that? And satellite's a whole other deal because you've got line of sight, and things like trees and snow and heavy clouds can cause problems there. But we've definitely had a big request for it, and we may, if we think the demand is there and it's worth, we'll sell enough of them. It's, we're definitely open to building those sort of things, and we build everything in house here in Iowa. So we're very proud of that. We have an American-made product, and because of that, we're very nimble and agile. We can switch up and change designs. We can do all of that in house. So whatever we decide to come up with, whatever pops out of my head, get together with our engineer and we can crank something out. So,
well, very interesting. It's like I said, it's a very fascinating product. It sounds really cool. Paul, any other questions or anything else you want to add?
How do I get one?
What's that?
How do I get one?
You can actually buy them on our website, and we're actively signing up different resellers and things right now. But for now, you can buy them on SkyAMP.com with your credit card.
Yeah, well, that is a good question. So are you putting together kind of a channel program to sell these through IT solution providers?
Yes. So we're trying to be very aggressive with that. We're signing up some distributors. We have one major distributor on board already, and our products are actually at their warehouse right now as we speak. But we were at the Channel Partners Expo here a few weeks ago in Las Vegas, and that was our goal while we were out there. Is we're actively looking for VARs and MSPs and other forms of resellers, and setting up alliances. We're channel ready, and we, like I said earlier, we want to be everybody's best friend. So we are welcoming MSPs and VARs to pick up our product as a complement to the services they're already offering and some of the other products that are out there. We were in Cisco's booth at the MSP Summit, where you could, if you stopped by there, we may have your business card because we were giving away a couple of our Wi-Fi products. You know, that's the kind of relationships we're looking for, and like I said, with resellers as well. So yes, we're very, very interested in the channel, and you can look it up on our website, the Get Amped partner program that we've put together.
Very cool. Well, sounds interesting. And for those who wanted to learn more about this product or learn more about you and SkyAMP, how can they get a hold of you? Where can they go?
You can visit our website at SkyAMP.com. It's got our phone number. If you call it, you will speak to a human. You will not be speaking to a robot. And if I'm available, you can actually ask for me. Yeah, we've got a contact form on there. You can email us, and we've got quite a bit of information on our website. And we're always trying to add more. And we're getting a YouTube channel put together as well. So trying to get out there as many places as we can, but that's the best way to reach us, is just start with the website.
Very cool. Sounds good. Well, Jason Howell, president of SkyAMP, thank you so much for coming on and talking about us and sharing a little bit more about this product and a little bit more about how it works and what it does. So really appreciate that. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll wrap up the show on the other side. So stick around. We will be right back. All right, and we are back with part 4 of Channel Pro Weekly. Wow, guys, 2 interviews, both of them great. I want to take just a couple of minutes and just to see if there's anything from either interview that you thought compelling, want to spotlight or want to talk about. We'll start with our interview with Laurie Mitchell from Wasabi first. Anything you wanted to highlight there, Rich?
Well, I like the and this, it goes beyond cloud storage in a way. It's almost like a mindset. I like the idea of taking a service and thinking about how to turn it into a solution and to present it to the customer as a solution, as opposed to yet another service that you're delivering. So I really like that kind of mindset.
Yeah, Paul, anything to add there, or any of your own thoughts?
Yeah, in my end, I think it's I think as an MSP, I think about the M in MSP stands for money, right? So I like to I like there's a lot of different ways to make money with the product.
Yeah, well, and when you think about a service, like it's I'm sure you don't walk to customers and say, like, let's talk about cloud storage. But I think the right mindset, and I think that's what Laurie was really trying to push, is like you gotta bring it all together and make it a solution and make it something that you can pitch to a customer to show value. And not sometimes pitching vendors doesn't do that, but wrapping it into the right presentation and the right stuff kind of does. Is that kind of am I following that discussion right, Paul?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, and then we had another great interview with the president of SkyAMP. I mean, Rich, we were a little skeptical last time we talked. I think I feel a little less skeptical now. It sounds like it certainly does work, right? I mean, I don't think people will be buying these in droves if it didn't actually do what they say it does. But it sounds it's still kind of magical. Like whatever they're doing, they picked up on something that's unique and interesting and that works without power. But I guess he's right. RF is a form of energy, and whatever they're doing works. Are you less skeptical, Rich?
Well, I wasn't all that skeptical to begin with, but I was very, very curious about what could possibly enable a device to do what this device does. And there's still some mystery and magic about that. But even just knowing that, okay, they're harvesting the energy and the radio waves that they're amplifying. Okay, that begins to point you in the direction of how this, because otherwise it's just like, well, what is there kryptonite in there? And there's a way to begin to understand how they're able to do that. But you know what, it is interesting too, isn't it, that a guy was able to make this, so NASA attempted it, couldn't do it. NASA couldn't do it. They put a man on the moon and they couldn't figure it out, and Jason kind of figured it out in his garage. That's sort of interesting too.
That's how all the amazing innovations and stuff happen, right? You have a need, you start in the garage, and you wind up doing something incredible. Paul, what did you think of the product? Interesting, right?
I know how to get Wi-Fi when I go to Area 51.
Well, it's, you know, it makes you wonder, like, is there like alien technology in there or something? But it sounds like it's based in science, and he just he kind of came up around the right way to do it. But is that something like you would ever be interested in offering your customers, assuming it works the way he says it does? And it sounds like it does.
Yeah, I mean, dead spots happen all over, whether it's, trying to fix cellular, you're in a restaurant, they want their customers to be able to use their phones and internet. Even some larger homes, larger farm areas where, hey, I want to get Wi-Fi in my backyard. I got no power. I've got, very little to go off of. This could be the game changer.
It could be. It could be. I mean, if it works as effectively as they say, and as more people use it, I'm sure we'll find out more and more how it's being used and how well it works. But you're right, it is a game changer. It'd be awesome just to have a little thing you can just kind of take with you and set it down, and poof, makes all your phones work better, your Wi-Fi work better. Pretty neat stuff. So big thanks to Jason for coming on to talk about that. Rich, we're gonna shift gears, and we're gonna back Paul in a corner, and we're gonna play a little game of 5 questions. So for those listening, it's a little game we play with our guests where Rich and I will come up with 5 questions on the fly. That's the whole idea. We cannot write these in advance. We have to think of them on the fly, and sometimes we can't, and that's when it's really funny. Paul, it'll be questions, just to learn more about you, fun stuff, nothing embarrassing, no gotchas or anything, just to have a little fun. You ready?
Let's go.
All right, Rich, first question to you.
Okay, so we were talking about cruises, and you like to do cruises, and of course cruises, it's one of those all-inclusive vacations. You pay X dollars, and then from that point on, for the most part, you're not paying anything extra. So what is the thing that is available to you at no extra cost on the cruise that you cannot resist? Just knowing that I can eat or drink or do as much of this as I want, and it costs me nothing more. What is the irresistible something?
Sunshine. No. In all seriousness, no. I enjoy the different breakfast items. So I can get an omelet, I can get a muffin, I can get a pancake. Unlimited breakfast.
Somewhere that according to the cruise industry, the average cruise passenger gains 1 pound per day on a trip.
Wow, is that true? Wow. I've been on some cruises, and it really is hard. It's really hard to not take advantage of the unlimited and massive quantities of food. It's also the only place I've ever had baked Alaska. Did you have baked Alaska when you were on the last cruise you were on?
I did not know.
You have to look for that. It's a dessert. So or is it a breakfast item, Rich? I can't remember.
I think it's a dessert.
It's a dessert, right? It's ice cream with ask for it. It was good. I do remember that. But it's been a long time since I was on a cruise. All right, question number 2 to me. You when we were riffing before the show, you said you like to watch a lot of movies, and you stay on top of that. Probably makes sense because you're on planes and traveling a lot, so you probably get to watch a lot of films. Name one movie that you've seen that's fairly new in the last, say, the first part of 2022 that you would recommend seeing.
First part of 2022. What movies came in 2022?
What has come out since the beginning of the year? New movies 22. Let's find out. Or just name a movie.
There were some of the direct to video. And so I would go with what's the name of the Steven Spielberg did it with Lin-Manuel Miranda. West Side Story.
West Side Story, yeah.
West Side Story.
All right. So he was a fan of that one. So that's one to put in your queues to watch whenever it comes out on streaming, because I think that one, I don't know if that one's out yet. All right. Question number 3 to you, Rich.
So this might be tough, but you said you like to travel to Israel. I mean, what is like the one cannot miss sight to see or thing to do in Israel?
Well, so of course everyone's going to go and say, the holy sites, Jerusalem, Western Wall. I go for the less holy sites. There's so many shopping markets. You're talking about Bake Alaska, my favorite snack, my favorite dessert is called Malabi. It's a yogurt. You put cookie crumb. It's a fun dessert. I do 2 or 3 of them in between a falafel, of course.
All right. So question number 4 to me, you said you like, I'm cheating a little bit because I think we had a similar question like this last week, but you said you really like dessert or like breakfast items. So name your favorite breakfast item.
French toast.
Ooh, okay. Question 4B, how do you make it? Because there's lots of different ways to make French toast. So how do you like it best?
IHOP.
They have like there's one of the like the double baked French toast or something like that. Like I've seen that on the menu there. They have some kind of special recipe. Is that the one you're talking about?
I go for classic.
Classic. What kind of toppings do you like on it?
Banana.
Banana. Good stuff. And good. It has potassium. That's also important for a growing boy. Rich, question number 5 to you.
And apologies in advance if this gets you into trouble. Like, you're taking sides and now you're going to hear about it from people. What is the best pizza in the state of New Jersey?
The best pizza. One of my friends owns an Italian restaurant, Molina's Italian Kitchen in Manalapan, New Jersey. He makes pretty good pizza. Enjoy it.
After we're done recording, send me the URL. We'll put it in the show notes.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I'm going to tack on a bonus question to that just because I'm curious. What's like your preferred way to have pizza? What kind of toppings do you like? If you're going to create the perfect pie, what would be on it?
So sometimes I'll do ziti pizza. Regular pizza with penne pasta on top.
I don't think I've ever had that. That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I'll have to try that. So it's penne pasta and I assume cheese then.
Yeah, cheese and it's tomato. It's
very cool. Well, that sounds delicious, and I'm gonna have to. If there's nowhere around here that makes that, I'm gonna have to make it myself. Sounds cool. Well, thanks for playing along. Lots of fun. Rich, before we say goodbye to Paul, why don't you tell us what we might have missed and what might be coming up in the near future?
Well, you can always catch up on stuff that you might have missed by reading our In Case You Missed It post, which appears on ChannelProNetwork.com every Friday, written by our own James Gaskin. This week, James is going to be talking about some interesting new solutions from Trend Micro and Kaspersky that didn't get a chance to write about because I was in Florida at the Eaton event and covering some other things. But those
rubbing it in. I was in Florida.
Yeah, I haven't mentioned Mexico in weeks, but yeah, Florida. So James is also going to be talking about a new work-from-home USB speakerphone from Poly, which is part of HP, or going to be part of HP. Get used to that. And then he's also going to be talking a little bit about a new breakfast cereal that is meant to be eaten with orange juice. I don't know if people actually do this. I know it sounds really disgusting to me, but James will tell you all about that. Now, next week, we told you we're going to be in Chicago doing our event. And as a result, there will not be a typical Channel Pro Weekly podcast episode next week, but we will have an episode for you, actually, that we have already recorded. It is sponsored by the folks at Datto, who we were talking about before, actually, and it includes a conversation with their Chief Information Security Officer, Ryan Weeks, which was very, very interesting for us to do. So stay tuned for that. That will show up next week, and that really is worth listening to. The other thing happening next week is Dell Technologies World. The big Dell conference is taking place face-to-face in Las Vegas as well. And so I'm sure there will be some news coming out of that.
Yeah, awesome. And I want to give a shout out to Datto in advance and thank them for sponsoring that, because normally we wouldn't be doing that during a typical or during an event week, but they were able to make that happen. And honestly, Rich, it's really not that different from a normal episode when you really look at it. So folks, it's well worth listening to the fact that it's sponsored by Datto. And make that a good thing, because you're going to learn a lot of cool stuff about Datto. We're going to talk to Ryan Weeks. It's great. Don't skip it. It is really, really, really good. And with that, Paul, I want to thank you so much for coming on. and talking with us and being. I know this is kind of a long slog. I'm really sorry with that, with the 2 interviews that just kind of ended up being jammed on one show. But thank you so much for being here with us and being a part of it. I hope you had fun.
My pleasure. Hey, invite me back again soon.
Absolutely. And if for anybody wanted to learn more about you, get in touch with you, make a connection with you, where can they go? How can they find you?
Of course, you can look me up on LinkedIn or go to my personal website, paulnebb.com.
Awesome. And I hope they do. And I hope we get you back sometime in the future. And folks, where should you go each and every day besides Paul's website? Because I'm sure it's awesome. But you should go to the ChannelProNetwork.com website, where you'll find the latest news, articles, white papers, downloads, resources, all kinds of great stuff that not only helps you make more money, but also keeps you on top of what's going on in this crazy, fast-moving industry. Well worth it. Set it as your homepage. Go there each and every day. So, of course, subscribe to the Channel Pro Weekly podcast in all the places podcasts are found. If you find one we're not in, I would be shocked, but if you do, let us know. We'll get in there. But otherwise, the Apple, the Google podcasts, the Spotify, Stitcher, we're everywhere. If you like to watch, we're on YouTube. You can hit the bell, the subscribe button, hit the bell, hit the like button, hit all the buttons, and leave a comment, because that goes a long, long way, and we really appreciate it. Of course, with that, we are going to say goodbye in this normal episode, but we'll be back in a special episode next week, and we'll have we'll resume with episode 224 the week after next. Make sure you come to Chicago if you're in the area and come to our event. We want to see you. You meet us in person. It's going to be a lot of fun. You're not going to miss it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.